Okay, so this is not the traditional kind of video we're going to make. We're not going to talk about the actual highlights and the history and all that stuff. We're just going to jump straight into it because Dmitri Zlodeyev is, in my opinion, the weirdest Vancouver Canucks prospect profile out there. And there are some very weird things that we have seen on other scouting reports and all that indicate that the Vancouver Canucks in the 6th round of the 2020 NHL Entry Draft might have grabbed the next Steve Yzerman or Patrick Kane? Yeah, we're that crazy into it. So, Dmitri Zlodeyev is a Vancouver Canucks 6th-round pick, 175th overall at the 2020 NHL Entry Draft, born on February 15, 2002, 18 years old, 5'11", 183-pound center from Russia. He doesn't even have a picture on Elite Prospects. That's how obscure this kind of guy is. In his draft year, 1920, with the MHL's MHK Dynamo Moscow, he posted up 28 points in 42 games. Not bad. For Russia U18, had 5 points in 14 games played, which is pretty okay. And then for the VHL, he actually suited up for 2 games over there with the Dynamo Tver. However, it's his play this year that has gotten eyes turning. Playing with the Dynamo Krasnogorsk, he's had 4 goals in 8 games played, and in the same MHK Dynamo Moscow system, he is at just under a point per game. He actually suited up for Team Russia U20 at the Karjala Cup, which was indeed noted as well in a few videos ago, but Dmitri Zlodeyev is a guy who has actually been producing quite well. This was highlighted by a 2-point game he had a few days ago, the same day where Podkolzin and Hoglander ended up getting 2 points as well. Zlodeyev has been chronicled by a few guys, buddy of mine, Chris Faber, I mention him all the time. He has been watching the games, posting the highlights, and talking about Zlodeyev and his play. If we go over to Dobber Prospects and take a look at the scouting report it has here. Read this for your fantasy summary. A responsible 200-foot player with solid playmaking and shooting ability. He can lead a power play by himself. Not always able to play against physically strong opponents, though. So, that kind of aligns with the stuff that I've been seeing because people who watch the games for Dmitri Zlodeyev have been saying that this guy plays well in his own zone. He's a nice defensively capable center who can do some pretty nice things in the offensive zone. Here's Cam Robinson's write-up on him. He has been off to a quick start to begin 2021. He's clicked at just under a point per game in the MHL, however, even more impressively has been his play against men. 7 games in the VHL, Russia's version of the AHL, he scored 4 goals, useful part of the team's bottom 6. He's a feisty type who thrives down low while pressuring defenders. It's a style that should lend itself well to transitioning up the ranks, albeit with a lower offensive ceiling than some. Offensive ceiling, that's what we're talking about here. So, what we have discussed is a pretty nice, grindy, two-way ability center who does have some nice offensive flair. That's cool. But if you go over to tsn.ca and you look at the Dmitri Zlodeyev prospect profile, this is from May of 2020. Let's take a look at what Craig Button had to say. Because Craig Button's analysis on this webpage, and I'm not lying, at the time of this recording, this is the webpage, Dmitri Zlodeyev, go over to Craig Button's analysis, read this here. 4 exceptional attributes: skating, puck skills, processing speed, and imagination work in seamless coordination to make a big impact on the game. Projection: elite offensive number 1 center, comparable Patrick Kane, Steve Yzerman. Then look at the numbers over here. Skating, 5 out of 5. Hockey sense, 5 out of 5. Competitiveness, 5 out of 5. Puck skills, 5 out of 5. And scoring, 4.5 out of 5. Craig Button had reportedly given Dmitri Zlodeyev the most underrated prospect grading out of anybody in the draft. A guy who was drafted in the 6th round to have his profile say this. However, I propose that this was a mistake. Not because I want Zlodeyev to be bad. No, I would love for him to be the next Patrick Kane or Steve Yzerman. But let's take a look at this. First off, it talks about his stat line. On Dynamo Moscow 2, he had 42 games played, 12 goals, 48 points, and 25 penalty minutes? What? Dmitri Zlodeyev did not produce at that rate with the 2nd-tier Dynamo Moscow team. He had 42 games played, yes, but he didn't have 12 goals and 48 points, no. He had 12 goals and 16 assists, which combines for 28 points. His penalty minutes were at 45, not 25. And in fact, if you check out the actual overall team's production in general, there's nobody on the team that had these numbers. Nobody had over 33 points. No one had 48 points on this squad last year. Where in the world are these numbers coming from? Furthermore, if you check the MHL as a whole, nobody had these numbers. The only guy who had 48 points on the year did it in 40 games, and that's Alexander Zabriev. So we have one part of this article, or this scouting report, this profile, that is incorrect. It's the numbers that actually go over his stats. They're completely wrong. And then I googled the scouting report. Copy and paste, 4 exceptional attributes, skating, puck skills, etc. And I found this. Those are the words that Craig Button used to describe Jack Hughes. So, my hypothesis is that TSN kinda screwed things over here and accidentally put the Jack Hughes scouting report under Dmitri Zlodeyev. Because if you go to Jack Hughes and his overall projection, hey, he has the exact same body of text underneath his profile than Dmitri Zlodeyev does. Zlodeyev, and I say this with 100% sincerity, this is what's under his profile on tsn.ca at the moment I'm recording this video. What I'm expecting, what I hope happens, is that after this video is uploaded, somebody at TSN or whatever ends up seeing it and says, darn, that's a mistake. Let's go ahead and change that. And the reason I'm making such a big deal out of this is because some people have been talking about this on Canucks Twitter. People have been talking about Dmitri Zlodeyev and using this Jack Hughes scouting report to describe him. If you search up Dmitri Zlodeyev on Google and you type in the same words that are used in this Craig Button scouting report for Jack Hughes, you can find some articles that legitimately use the Jack Hughes scouting report as something that accurately defines Dmitri Zlodeyev's game. Now, I'm sorry, Dmitri Zlodeyev. I would love to be a guy who gets proven wrong, and he goes out there and he becomes Steve Yzerman, and he's a legend, and he's amazing, and my gosh, he is going to be so good. I love that. But I can't realistically see Steve Yzerman or Patrick Kane out of a 6th-round pick. So, for everybody who has been out here talking about how Zlodeyev might even be that, please just do the research. I don't think it's like that at all. It's just a mistake, it appears, so that's kind of why I said this is a very different scouting report. Not even a scouting report, just a prospect update video in general, because all the stuff online could make it seem like the Vancouver Canucks have a franchise-defining center at their hands here. And even though I would have loved to get another player whose scouting report was exactly the same as Jack Hughes, that's just not what's happening here. In fact, thinking about how weird it would be if we got that, imagine if Dmitri Zlodeyev was Jack Hughes. That could be pretty cool. I mean, a first line of Pettersson, Besser, Miller. Okay, that's cool. Then you have Zlodeyev on your second line with whichever nice scoring forwards you want to put in there. Niels Höglander, Cole Lind, etc. Then Bo Horvat becomes your third line guy. Maybe shift Gaudette to the wing, play Virtanen on the right side over there too. And then your fourth line just consists of whoever. So there are a whole bunch of really cool things you could do with a Steve Yzerman, Patrick Kane-like player, but that is just not what Dmitri Zlodeyev is, in my opinion. However, we should not let the inaccuracies in the scouting reports distract from the fact that he actually has been pretty solid in the MHL in his draft plus 1 year, giving us Vancouver Canucks fans a little bit more to cheer about when it comes to the overall Russian prospect developing system. We had Podkolzin for a while, now we have Zlodeyev too. Who knows? If Zlodeyev is actually able to improve a little bit more as the season goes on, who knows if we see this guy at the World Juniors? He was already playing for the Karjala Cup, and Podkolzin was playing at the Karjala Cup, and he was doing really well there, so everybody was saying, okay, if the World Juniors comes and goes, you know, we might probably see Podkolzin as an early front runner for the captain. So if Zlodeyev is able to improve, the guy who went from a, like a 13th forward kind of guy who eventually played a little bit more minutes as the tournament went on. He didn't really get all too much ice time here and there, but he was still there. If his improvements continue in the trajectory they have, who knows what we can see out of this guy? Who knows if he makes the World Junior team maybe, and maybe even plays a significant role? I would love to see that. Obviously, that's just wishful thinking. He is a 6th-round pick after all, and 6th-round picks almost never work out, but at the end of the day, there still is a lot to cheer for out of Zlodeyev, just not to the extent of Patrick Kane or Steve Yzerman or Jack Hughes or anything that is said on this TSN page over here. So I hope by the time this video is uploaded a week from now or something, it gets changed, but it still was very funny to talk about. So talk to me in the comments what you think about Dmitri Zlodeyev. Hope you enjoyed this video /99. And bye.